Hello, Illumineers. It's time to take a rest from your quest and check on in to the Lore Keeper's Inn. I'm your host, Katie, and today's kind of a fun little unwinding episode. So we are now about a week out from the Disney Lorcana Challenge, North American Continental Challenge, and it was the first one ever. And so there's been so many thoughts. If you are on the internet, you're like, yeah, I seen them. And so today is to kind of talk a little bit of a download, but also kind of ramping up as we kind of think about that the end of the year is almost basically here. Who knows when it's actually over, but you know, the main competition year is over. We're just kind of talk like what we hope to see next year. So with me, I have two very, very, very exciting guests. Up first, she's a friend of the show at this point. She's been on multiple times. You know and love her as RebakahQuests, but it's Rebekah.
It's me. Hi.
And then I also have this is impressive. So I have two accolades here. Top 8 finisher at DLC Atlanta and top 16 finisher and DLC North American Continental Challenge. It's Ryan, or as you know him, RMB of Team Labyrinth. Welcome, Ryan.
Thank you. Always a pleasure to be here with you ladies.
I'm very excited because I kind of, this way, with the three of us. So I came as an attendee. Like I truly was just there to have fun, do side events. I had no responsibilities other than to get stuff. And that was it. I was like, I gotta get Cusco, get Baymax. And that came with the tickets, so that was not so hard. But you guys came in two different capacities. So I'll start with you, Rebekah. For people who don't know, for people who are like, what's Lorcana? But didn't know how you enjoyed this weekend, introduce yourself and how you enjoyed this weekend or past weekend.
Yeah, so I was asked to be part of the broadcast team for the official stream of the event. So I have been fortunate enough to be a part of the broadcast team for all of the other 6 Disney Lorcana challenges. So always an honor, so much fun. It's a great team. And I was on the team for the championships, and my role was to be the host and interviewer. So I got to talk with all the players throughout the 2 days of competition and everything. Tons of fun. And then I also got to host the award ceremony at the very end. And that was a fabulous experience. You know, I think people were just so hyped up, you know, for that moment. To be the one to call people's names out was a lot of fun. And then in between, you know, I got to, you know, I interviewed players and then watched the games, but also connecting with my friends, you guys. I got to see players and other content creators and people who I've met just through going to the Disney Lorcana challenges over the last year. And then also connecting with people from Ravensburger as well, people who work there on staff, the artists and everything. So, and Mickey. I got to meet Mickey Mouse.
He was there.
He was there.
He was just hanging out. Like, honestly, they had him in the Mickey's corner.
Did you, every time I would walk by and see him, it just made me smile. And I was just, it made me so happy.
When he waved at me, we'd make eye contact and I'd be like,
oh,
it's truly thrilling to be acknowledged by Sir Mickey Mouse. I assume he's a knight. I don't know.
Right. I think so. That makes sense.
Yeah. Has to. He's a brave little tailor, if anything.
That he is. So lots of fun. That was me and my experience of the weekend. It was really great, a beautiful venue, and just awesome, as always, to be together with the Lorcana community.
Yeah, and I mean, it's hard because this weekend is filled with dualities where there is highs and lows and all sorts of things where, and I think I'm excited to talk about that because that's something I didn't realize coming into this weekend. But that's why I wanted to bring you in, Ryan, because you came in. You didn't just come in. You were invited. You were qualified to be there. So share a little bit about your journey to this weekend and what was your capacity as an attendee.
So my journey almost didn't happen. It took me... Yeah, I was originally supposed to be there on Thursday. So I was really excited to get in there Thursday morning. I was going to go to the park and have fun, hang out with my team, hang out with, all the content creators, get to do the quest in the park. Unfortunately, the flight that I had booked ended up getting a cancellation. So I quickly, tried getting a flight to another location. That flight ended up also getting canceled. I ended up having to switch my flight to Friday, flying out of Charlotte, North Carolina. That one ended up getting alerts on it and was poised to get canceled. So I proactively switched my flight to go through Phoenix and into Santa Ana. And I ended up getting in Friday afternoon, but I missed an entire day. So that was really unfortunate that I lost an entire day to hang out with my friends and I wanted to go to the park. I wanted to ride the teacups.
I didn't know that you had all the. I know lots of people did, but oh man,
Yeah, you were like the first flight that. It was crazy watching because I was on Twitter watching and I'm like, that means flight's gonna get canceled. But no, it seemed very personal to you. The universe was very like a few people's flights got canceled, but the degree of impact was really
like
intense.
originally I was supposed to fly into Dallas and then Dallas to Santa Ana, and like I was getting emails left and right. I was getting like freeze warning alerts and like snowstorm warnings from Dallas, and then like fire alerts from Santa Ana. I was like, I'm just like, it's fire and ice. It's like it's raining brimstone. Like this is not like I'm not meant to like go to this event. Like
It's very apocalyptic.
it was so apocalyptic. I was like, what did I do to deserve this? And like then like I see people on like the internet like, oh, like look at all the fun we're having, and I'm like,
yeah.
I'm not. Like I could be, but I'm also not. So like
yeah,
that
and
was
probably just wondering like, is it going to keep going? Because probably felt at that point like, will I actually ever get to California?
Yeah, I honestly thought that there was a real chance that like I just wasn't going to be able to get in, because like we weren't getting told the reason for the flight cancellations. So like I was like left to my own vices, and I'm over here like there's fires all over the place, there's smoke all in the air. Like I'm not there, so like I didn't know that it was like where we were was
Fine.
like clear.
Right.
Yeah, it was like
Upsettingly nice. It was like,
wasn't bad.
whoa.
So like I'm imagining that like all of California just has this giant smoke cloud over it. Nobody can get in, nobody can get out, and like all of this stuff's gonna happen this weekend, and I'm just gonna like miss it all. So like that's how my travel started.
Yeah, but you got to come with RMB. That's not their government name.
yes,
Well,
you
that was very
Rachel,
exciting.
did.
Yeah. So I'm sure it was nice to have a travel partner to share the anxiety load, but also then kind of like, ugh, it's still not good. There's
Yeah, no.
There's nothing good about not being able to go to Disney, like, and just being like, stay where you are. Everyone else gets to have fun. You have to stay here. But you made it. And then finally, and the good news is you didn't have to do last chance qualify. You were first chance qualified.
Yep. I got to watch, so like I got there, I think around like round 2, like middle to end of like round 2 of like the last chance qualifiers, and like I got to sit there and cheer on Logan Zenulos, one of my teammates, very good friend of mine. I got to watch like his round 2. He ended up winning, and then like had to watch him. He lost in round 3, and it was like super unfortunate that his opponent, like the sequence of draws that they had was just like ringer, and he just like had this like bricked hand in game 3 that like he just couldn't play the game. Basically, like he just had a bunch of uninkables, and he was stuck on 5 ink and like couldn't do anything, which is just like real unfortunate to watch. But
Yeah. It was hard because he wanted the last chance qualifiers. There was 32 for people that weren't there. There was 32 tournaments going on at the same time. And so like you would want to look, and you couldn't really follow in Melee super well because you have to know what pod they were in.
Which pod.
So it was a lot of like just like looking, but you didn't want to stare because if something terrible happened, you want to be able to say like, you good? And so it was like, it was intense. You could feel it. Like I've never been in a tournament like that where it was like not great vibes because every match was basically
life or death.
a cut.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there was no second chance.
Well, think about it this
miss a
way.
match.
It was best of 3. So like that's one thing to note, is that it was best of 3. They were 5-round pods. So I want you to think about the context of like, let's say a DLC day 2. Each one of those pods was effectively a DLC day 2.
Yes,
And
day
to
2.
make it
Yeah.
to make it out of the pod and into the main event, you had to make it to the finals of a DLC. Like you had to either win the whole thing or like end up being the runner up just to get out of those pods. Like I'm fortunate that I, qualified in Atlanta, the first North American DLC, that like if I had to go through those LCQ pods just to secure my spot, like I can't even begin to imagine the anxiety and like frustrations, and like my heart rate probably would have been in the 200s all day, like just like
Yeah.
constantly at fear of just being unable to qualify for the main event.
Right.
Yeah, and I think I'll put a sticky note here. I mean, I'm going to like lightly touch on some things that obviously if you're on the internet, you've already heard about, but like the pods I think were something that was going to be something that maybe could go a little bit better. There's the story of pods that were too full and pods not full enough.
Yeah.
And so it's a tale where we're like, oh, I hope we learn from that because it's heartbreaking. Aladdin's Castle, that's not his
I
government
know.
name,
I
but,
feel so bad for
hearing his
AC.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah, he showed up. He had his little ticket. He's like, because to get into Last Chance Qualifier was its own gauntlet because the ticket sold out in
30 seconds.
within a moment.
Seconds.
Yeah, it was like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
30. I think it was 34 seconds. The LCQ tickets were sold out.
So he got his ticket, showed up, and then did they say he had a buy or did they just say hang tight?
He got a buy round one. So like what ended up happening was, oh no, maybe I'm confusing two different stories.
Yeah, there's a couple, because like one person got a buy.
One person got a buy. There was a 33-man pod where somebody got a buy round one, and then like they go to round two and they have a buy in round two again. So they like go to the judge like, this can't be right, and the judge is like, no, it looks right to me. Like, you're good. You got to buy. And he's like, well, I got to buy round one. He's like, sick. You just, like, got 2 free wins. And then, like, he goes to, like, round 3 and he has a buy again. And he, like, goes to another judge. He's like, what's
happening?
And they just, like, removed him from the event. Like, just removed him from the event. Was like, this was an overbooked pod. Like, you didn't think to tell me, like, before I got 2 buys?
Yeah. I mean, I always have to tell my friends, getting a buy is not always good because it means you're doing the worst currently. So at that point, too, they probably should have been like, the alarm bell should have gone off. The person got a buy twice. Like, well, how could he be in the lowest?
That's not even possible.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
The only reason that it happened is because they were technically in, like, Melee, but they weren't in the event. And 30.
So it was kind of messy.
It was a little messy.
Yeah. So it was Friday. But you weren't there for that. You were there just watching. You were relaxing. No stress for you. So then, I mean, you had stress because you had to compete on the next day. So the next day was Saturday. How was that day?
Do you want me to like tell you the good
well,
stuff?
I saw
or the bad
I'll
stuff,
say
like
so I saw you twice, and I saw you halfway through the day, and you may have had some negative things to say about your future, and you're like, you were stressed. I was like, you should. Well, to be fair, yeah. So like waiting outside that room, it was like being outside an OR. Like people like, it was very intense. So I saw you at that time, but then I saw you second time, and you're much happier. So that's just a preview of like the bookends. But I'm sure your day was filled with ups and downs.
Well, it was 7 rounds, right?
7 rounds, yeah.
7
and
rounds,
I played all 7. So the day started on like the most negative undertone. And, like, that theme carried throughout the entirety of day 1. So, like, we get told in the player meeting that intentional draws are not allowed. And I'm feeling a range of emotions for multiple reasons. So, like, in one regard, I completely, like, understand, you know, the whole purpose for them creating the 2-game format, or what we were told for creating the 2-game format was to create conditions for people to play the game and not play the tournament bracket, which like I do, you know, generally agree with. Like, you want people to play the game and not play the bracket. However, the 2-game format has caused the ability for you to theoretically play the least amount of games possible to secure a day 2 slot in any event, which I don't think is overall healthy for, you know, the most competitive event of the year. But they told us no intentional draws were allowed when the rule book clearly states that you can intentionally draw. We're also qualifying for the exact same event that the European group qualified for, and they were held to a different standard, which I do not think is fair. I think if you wanted to implement this change, this is something that you implement after the fact. I think holding 2 groups of people trying for the same thing to 2 different standards is unfair to the competitors. And there were definitely some like upsets that happened because of it. Like there was an individual that went 3-0 in the first 3 rounds. And the way that breaker math worked out, they should have been able to intentionally draw for the last 4 rounds, which again, this is caused by the 2-game format. You play 3 rounds, go 3-0, and you just get to draw for 4 rounds, and you're guaranteed a day 2 cut. That shouldn't exist. In best of 3, at best, you can go XO until the last 2 rounds. You can intentionally draw and secure, and even sometimes like XO1, like because you're playing for seeding. So like I have to win every single round, and then in the final round, the benefit of me, doing so well for the entire day is the ability to like intentionally draw and like go get food.
Yeah.
So like I don't necessarily like the dude went 3-0 and then proceeded to get O2'd for 4 rounds in a row. He ended up going 3-4-0 and did not make day 2. And like they should have had just the freest day 2 imaginable. I don't think it's a bad thing to like force people to play the game, because that's what we're all here to do in the first place. We're all here to play the game. But I think that if that was a change that you wanted to make, it needed to be made after the fact, since we've already had a tournament that's supposed to be identical to one another under that rule set. Like I don't think
Now, my
that's fair.
thing, hearing about it, for me, I've been in a tournament where they said it was best of 2, no intentional drawing. To me, it feels like if you say no intentional drawing, sometimes you're just encouraging better acting. It feels like, because
You're
at the end of the
encouraging
day,
dishonesty. You're encouraging dishonesty. And like,
and it's hard because everybody knows the benefits of why you would do it, and it's usually not super nefarious. It can be, and that's why it's controversial, and that's why I think it's hard, because to me, when I hear you cannot intentionally draw, what I'm hearing is we cannot know that you're intentional drawing, because how do you prove without a doubt?
Nope.
You'd have to have somebody 1-to-1 the whole time.
It was worse.
Except for
it was worse than that. So for the last 2 rounds of the event, at the top 2 big groupings of tables, judges were, they were all right there. They were all watching every single game. They were sitting down watching games. Like the individual to the left of me, I think in round 7, they had, using, like, neither one of them used any language that could be, construed as coercion or anything like that. They both recognized the position that they were in. A draw ends up putting both of them out of contention for day 2. They essentially, one player said, hey man, if I lose game 1, I'm willing to concede game 2 to give you a shot at day 2. And, didn't require the opponent to like say anything. It was no like quid pro quo or anything like that. But so they ended up playing game 1, the guy won it, and the other guy said, hey man, I'm going to concede game 2 to you. So like they put it in melee. The judge was standing right behind them and like says, what was the result of this round? And he said, who won game 1? So he goes, I won game 1. And then he says, okay, who won game 2? And he goes, I also won game 2. And he points to the man's lore pad and says, I only see the lore totals here for 1 game. Where's game 2? And it created this really, really toxic environment where it was like, we were on trial. Like, as players, we were essentially on trial trying to prove that, like, we played both games, and that's the only method by which we, like, came to a determination. But in the rulebook, it states any player can concede a game at any point in time. You cannot ask for a concession.
You can't ask for a concession.
You cannot. You
But they can
cannot
say, "I'm
ask
done."
for. You cannot ask for a concession, but you cannot tell someone that they are not allowed to concede the game.
Yeah, you must keep playing. Like, because that's crazy to
No.
think. Because in football, you take a knee sometimes. I mean, there's lots of
Right.
times where you're like, I am done here.
Right.
Right,
So
exactly.
to say, stand up, keep playing. Is that it? Like, I think, yeah. And so I think to me, ID means like, yeah, but you don't even play. No cards are even exchanging. You're like, whatever. And so to say that somebody conceding at the start of game, or even some point during game 2, saying, well, that's an ID, you're like, uh-oh. Well, now I'm confused because I'm allowed to say I'm done, right? You can't force me. Help.
Yeah, that's confusing.
So, yeah. So that
But, like,
isn't great.
It just felt like you could cut the tension with a knife. And like, I just remember being there in round 6 and round 7. And like, not only is like the pressure of like trying to make day 2 enough, but like now I have these people that are standing over my shoulder like a hawk, watching my every move, like asking me all these questions. Like it felt like the Spanish Inquisition. Like we were like it felt like we were on trial, like trying to like justify, like, hey, like I won these games. Like, oh yeah, prove it.
The other elephant in the room is we know that there are some issues with, people being fearful of disqualification. So I'm sure that didn't help, knowing that if you say something maybe in a way that's not good, then it might be considered hiding information. So I'm sure that wouldn't feel great to know that you're like, I really need to answer all their questions in a way that's good, because it didn't sound like there was a lot of wiggle room. We're kind of like, all right,
there's
things
none.
happen. Anyway, have fun, kids.
You say the wrong
Right.
thing and you're disqualified, or like they like ask you a question and you kind of like either have to be like incredibly vague, like, and that's the other thing too. All of this is to say that it's creating conditions for people to be dishonest with one another, and I think that that's the root of the big problem, is that you are creating a condition for players to be forced to lie to judges, and that is not like you don't want that. Like, I thought that this is a Disney community, is it not? Like, we're all supposed to like love everything and like be happy and cheerful and embrace each other, and like that wasn't the vibe in that room day one.
Right. And like I understand like integrity of the game and integrity of the tournament is important, but that there are better ways maybe of making sure that that integrity is there without it coming down the way it did.
Don't change the rules.
Yeah.
Like that's
well,
and the
that's,
vibe,
that's all you had to do is like not change that rule.
Not change the rules.
And you guys were in, like, for people that don't know, I mean, if you go into other DLCs, everyone is in the same room except for maybe the featured matches or some tables. So this one was like they were in their own sequestered.
Yes.
No, they had security. Like, I couldn't go in there. At one point, I needed to talk to Kim to get something, and they're like, she's in the room, and so I was like, Kim, because
The first, oh my gosh, the first round too, like for the first like 25 minutes of round one, that room was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. It was the most eerie thing. Like, I'm used to like the loud noise and the commotion.
Yeah.
Like, when I sleep at night, like my fan creaks, and like, yeah, I could put WD-40 on it, but like that noise is like soothing and it helps me sleep at night.
Now you need it.
Like when I'm playing at a DLC, like
noise.
I want all the chaos and the noise, because like it like unironically it makes my brain quiet down and focus on the game. But like it was dead silent in there. It was so weird.
That is interesting.
But,
Weird vibes.
But you made it. So that's the thing, is the first time I saw you was like at the end of round 3, and you're like, ugh. So you could, like, everybody that came out, I didn't see it. It was right before lunch. And so we were there because we were helping do me and Breezy were doing something upstairs. And we saw people come out, and it was like, I didn't see a single happy face. And it makes sense because, I mean, I don't know, when you watch people in the Olympics, people usually look intense. So, I mean, it makes sense, but it was definitely not like people were like, hee, it's lunchtime. What a fun day I'm having. So it was funny because I was downstairs, and downstairs it was hee, ha, ha. I'm going to get a bread bowl time. And upstairs there was not a lot of hee or ha, ha.
No, like I started off the day with a draw against Booby Jr., very, very good player. Round 2, I got a 2-0 against Ruby Sapphire, which was like projected to be a really, really bad matchup for me. But like I kind of like created a condition to outplay my opponent and just like force them to like have the answer, and they didn't have the answer. And I ended up like winning the game on the draw, so I ended up getting a 2-0. Round 3, I pair into Zach Bivens. We ended up taking a unintentional draw. He won on the play, I won on the play. Then I played against Diego Saz, the winner of one of the other DLCs.
Toronto,
Yeah, he wins on the play, I win on the play. So like going into round 6, I'm 1-4. So like I'm technically not out of it.
Wow.
But like
you have to be perfect.
Yeah, so like I end up like 2-0ing my opponent, which was like just a crazy, crazy feeling. But like I had to go in like the last 2 rounds, like I had to 2-0 both of those rounds to even have a shot.
Yeah.
So like I ended up getting the 2-0 in round 6, and then in round 7, I made the comment to my opponent, was like, hey, a split here knocks us both out of contention for day 2. And my opponent was like, yeah, that's cool. Elsa's Ice Palace is like $3,000, so like I'm gonna play for, even a split. And I was like, okay, like I can't say anything about it. So like I had to like win the hard way. So like I win the dice roll. I win game 1 on the play. And so I'm playing Blurple, he's playing Amber Steel, and he's playing like the diggy hole, like Amber Steel aggro, which historically is like such a bad matchup for Blurple because like they just go too fast. And like I ended up winning game 2 on the draw off of the back of a single bell.
Oh, wow.
A single bell ended up challenging to remove 4 of his characters and
Wow.
got bounced back move damage off of other characters to banish 3 other characters. So one bell answered 7 of his characters. It was like it was insane. Like the
A
card
very
just,
accomplished mystic.
it was the
Very
most accomplished. It was the most accomplished mystic, and like that was the highlight of my weekend. Like undoubtedly the highlight of my weekend. Like having to do it the hard way in the final round where like everything is on the line to make day 2. I do also want to say that this is all coming from a place of love. Like me of all people, I mean, obviously like you guys have a lot of stake in the game and the success of the game as well. Like there were a lot of good things that happened. Like there were definitely some negative things that happened, but like I think the most important part is that if people don't express some of the inconsistencies or some of the issues, then like nothing's going to change. And like I have a massive stake in this game's success. Like I love Disney Lorcana. I love Disney. Like I want this game to succeed because like I want to play it long term. I want, several years down the road, when they're considering people for, the Lorcana Hall of Fame, like I want people to be like, Mr. Bald, RMB. Like I want to be considered one of like the greatest people to ever play this game. Like that's my goal. So like, it all comes from a place of love.
Yeah, and I was intentional when I invited who I invited, including myself. I'm invited to my own show, but like I want to make sure like if anybody looks at our social media presence, these are people that really like Lorcana. So like this is like anything that's negative, it's not like if you're like, wow, yeah, she always says negative stuff. So and you're the same way, like Ryan, you've been in the game since the very beginning, and Rebekah, you got Disney right behind you. You're Disney all the way down. So that's the thing is like, I think it's easy to be like, oh, well, everybody's always unhappy. I'm like, no, I'm normally very happy. So, and I think both of you too, like, I don't think you ever say anything just because you have want to be like, well, people will like it if I say this. So that's why I felt good being like, if there's something to say, I think that's a gift. I don't know. I hope people really agree with that. But I mean, I think like if somebody I love was like, hey, dude, you okay? I'd be excited that they told me. So that's, I have no qualms with that. And I hope other people don't. If you're listening, you're like, don't say negative things. It's because I care.
It's true.
Yeah. But so you went to bed knowing that you are the blurple best. At this point, now it's common knowledge that that night.
Oh, wait.
Be like, guess what? It was blurple.
Okay, before we go to the next day, though, I have to say that because I was in the back area for a lot of the day, they brought all the top 16 into the back to like take their pictures and like get their little videos where they're all doing like their poses. Oh my gosh, which I just loved those.
Oh my God,
it was fantastic. But it was so great seeing you, Ryan, and like other people back there that I've watched play like the whole Disney Lorcana Challenge season. But like the 16 players that were back there, it was just like everyone was just so hyped. It was cool to like see them there at the end of the day, knowing that they had made it to day 2. That was just a really cool moment as well.
It was like they walked in. It was the cutest thing. They had like a leader and then like all in a row and then a follower. And then
really,
I didn't get to see what they were.
You're walking.
Like they were on
you're
a field
walking
trip.
single file line. Like I felt like I was in elementary school again.
Yeah.
Like,
but then we're like, once we saw, we're like, wait a minute. It's a parade of winners. Because there's a few times where people had to go from one place to another. And if you kind of like read between the lines, you're like, oh, wait. I heard rumor that Ed Chu went to the bathroom between the time he won and the time that we saw that he won. And like, that's insane. I think, Citizen Lorcana said that because like there was a little bit of a delay. So we were like, wait a minute. If I'm seeing him and he looks happy, either he really had to go to the bathroom but he's relieved or he won. So yeah, it was really cool seeing you guys walk down. And then, this, I mean, I don't know how, if you're listening to this, you can't see, but they did this like little like Harry, like in Harry Potter, the paintings move like a little bit. They did that for all the players, and wow, that was a real treat for the viewers.
I thought it was such a great addition to the stream. It was very cool.
It was so good. It felt so like, who are your players? Because at this point in the season, everybody has like the people they root for. So it was very, 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 very exciting. So you and Sailor sailed into day 2, which must have been good that you were not by yourself. Now the sad thing is
I wasn't by myself anyways. Like I had Bivens up there,
those guys,
Zan, Ed, like I mean, Pandemonium Heart. Like there was a ton of like I knew almost every like Mo. Like I knew almost everyone in top 16 with the exception of like a couple of players like Sean Leung, he's actually like relatively new to the game in general. Like
Yeah.
He's
he's like
mysterious Nebraskan, then Sean Brandt, right? Is that who you're talking about? or-
yep. Yeah,
No,
I didn't know.
Oh,
Yeah,
Scott
Sean
is that the
Brandt,
same person?
Sean Brandt.
Or there's two Seans? I know
There's
the,
Sean
No, there's
Lung.
two Seans.
Yeah.
Sean Lung.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Which unironically, like I actually met him after the event. Like Team Labyrinth all went to what was the name of it? Anaheim
the packing
District.
district.
Yeah, we all went to Anaheim Packing District, and like when we were walking in, Sean was also walking in. So like Rachel and I sat there and talked to Sean for like 20 minutes. Like, dude, super
that's
cool,
cool.
really down to earth. Like,
Yeah, it's
actually,
crazy how many like secretly good, like the guy from Nebraska. He's in a family, and there's 3 of them. There's 2 sons and a dad, and they're all really good, and they just don't have
Oh,
social
wow.
media. And I'm like, could you imagine being good and telling no one? I couldn't. I'd tell everyone. And I'd be like,
could you
No,
imagine
good.
being bad and telling everyone you're good? Because like that's my life.
first off,
No.
spoiler alert.
No.
You're gonna hear some self-deprecating talk. Like this is a disclaimer. You might hear in the next bit a man saying some things that are a little skewed. You did great. So this is at point 2. We found out you're playing Blurple, which, if you don't know the history of RMB, he's known for, whether you like it or not, you're known for Sapphire Steel. You begrudgingly
love
are
it.
now like being Twitter told that like you'll never play any other deck. But everybody was like, "What are you gonna play?" And at this point, we're like, "Blurple." Like no one expected the Blurple. I didn't. I mean, I'm sure your team
I
knew,
didn't.
and some people knew, but I didn't see that coming. So
Yeah, I
Blurple
think
came
like,
in hot though.
I think that like the choice for me to play Blurple for the event was predicated on it being 2-game format.
Yes.
I think that like if it were best of 3, I would have 100% brought Sapphire Steel. Like Sapphire Steel definitely requires the 3rd game, like regardless of whether you're on the play or on the draw, to make an informed mulligan decision to be able to like clench the 2-1 win.
Mhm.
So I wanted to bring something that was very proactive, that had the ability to steal priority on the draw. Like, it's very easy to win a game on the play, regardless of what deck it is that you're playing, like, outside of your deck just, like, bricking and, like, giving a bunch of uninkables. Like, it's very, very easy to win games of Disney Lorcana on the play. It is very, very difficult to win games of Disney Lorcana on the draw. And I anticipated that Genie was going to be one of the most played cards of the weekend because the card, like, in testing, like, the card's just very, very, very good. So I was like, okay, like I want to play something that's proactive. I think Genie's going to be the most problematic card. Blurple plays a total of 8 2-drop ramp in both Tipo and Sail the Azurite Sea. So if I'm expecting a bunch of Genies, if I'm the first one to play, the Genie Elsa combo to banish your Genie, then like I'm going to win the Evasive War. And like that was the main reason why I chose to bring Blurples, because number 1, a very proactive game plan. Number 2, has like the highest capability of stealing games on the draw.
Yeah.
Yeah, which goes to speak. This is something that I learned. People who are good at Lorcana and are prepping for a tournament prep entirely based on the game they're about to play, which is why I think, just to drive that point home, that saying IDs the day of is a big deal, is because if you prep your entire day, your entire game plan, your entire everything on like how things are going to be. So that I think is a big, like, a little star. People don't know why that would be frustrating. It's just everybody builds their deck for that. So I think that's something people
very
might not realize.
intentional.
Like what?
Yeah.
It's just a rule. It's just a little rule. Why do you care? It's like, well, because I built
Just a
everything.
little rule.
Don't be mad. But now it is Sunday. So Sunday morning, and 16 players, single elimination. And then that night, you knew going home who you were going to play,
Yeah.
correct?
Yep, another DLC winner.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which, I mean, it was, looking at the top 16, it was like, there's no like, oh, well, that guy, that was a 12-year-old that just showed up yesterday. Like, it's all very, very, very intense players. But you were matched against, and I'm blanking right now, but it wasn't Edmund your first match?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was.
Oh,
it
wow.
was.
Okay.
Yes,
Which,
it
spoiler
was.
alert for people listening.
Spoiler.
So,
I
He
didn't
did
win the
well.
event, guys.
yeah, Ed did well. Unfortunately, or
Ed did well.
So,
Yeah.
how was that day for you?
It was hard.
Yes.
It was really, really hard. I set some pretty lofty goals for myself for this game. One of which being one of the first people to make it to Worlds. Which I know was come on, dude, you know how hard it is to make it to Worlds, but I was I was one singular game in a best of 3
One game.
away from it. So like obviously I lost. He was the higher seed, so like he got to play 2 games on the play. I got to play 1 game on the play. Like we each won the games that we were on the play. I think if roles were reversed, like there's a chance. I also like I made some like incredibly poor misplays in game 3 that ultimately ended up costing me the game. Like if like the turn where I like play the Elsa and I tap down his Sisu and I challenged the fox into the Sisu, if I would have tapped down the rabbit and challenged the fox into the rabbit, I win the game. Like I win that game. And like
Well, I mean, you mentioned that, like you said, you were teching for the genie meta, and I mean, for people that don't know, Ed did not have genies in his
No.
deck. Was Ed's
he
kind
didn't
of
need to. He didn't
well, but
need to have genies. Like
yeah,
he
but I
he
imagine that
predicated all of his like in game 3, all of his draw engine was on that single rabbit. Like if he
yeah.
didn't have that rabbit, like the following turn he like snakes back the rabbit, like draws a card, like replays, ends up getting a
Yeah.
library and then plays a library. If I banish it right then and there, he doesn't draw library that turn, and I don't have to worry about library on the following turn. And his hand has like no draw in it. I'm severely ahead on board. He has to take, like the fox ends up getting to trade 2 things instead of just 1. Like I'm so far ahead in that matchup, and then I have the card advantage. And like he can answer me for a couple of turns, but I'm gonna end up overwhelming him just based off of like I went back and I've watched the game like 6 times now. I've literally watched the game like 6 times and like watched the sequence of draws that he had. Like if I would have just exerted the rabbit, I 100% like won the game. So like I beat myself up. Like I didn't make my goal. I broke down after it. Like obviously, Rachel saw me after I came out from behind the stage, and like she already knew, and like we went up to each other and I hugged her, and I just like I broke down. I broke down. I broke down so bad that like I like rushed outside and like went down the strip and around the corner and like found this like little nook, and I just like fell against the wall and just like I let it all out. And Rachel, Aaron, and Logan, like those were like the 3 people that like came to console me, because like I was like, and even since like coming back home, like I've just like not been in a good like headspace mentally, because like I don't have anyone to blame but myself for not making it to Worlds.
Well, I mean, you know me, Rebekah. We're not gonna let you in on that note, unfortunately.
Well,
But
yeah,
But I mean, it's hard. I mean, that's the thing that a point I wanted to make is before this weekend, I knew that people practice, and I knew that people who are good at TCGs, like that's not an accident. They worked really hard. But like seeing how much blood, sweat, and tears, how much focus. Like I think I asked you, like, "Oh, you're Blurple. That's crazy that you played that." You're like, I can't remember how many games did you say you played in the past 2 weeks or week? It was like,
it was like a week and a half. I think I probably put like 280 games on Blurple.
yeah,
And that
yeah,
wasn't the only deck I was testing leading up to the event. Like I tested Purple Steel super heavy. Like that was my front runner. That was my go-to. I probably had another 300 games on that deck, cuz like I was for sure going to play it, and just found that like the Ruby Sapphire matchup was just like your deck is just too fair, and like what they're doing is not fair. And like I could not consistently like get a 2-0 against that deck, which ultimately was the reason for me not bringing it.
Yeah.
yeah. So I only bring up that because I think sometimes people are like, I don't know, you lost. I've lost a tournament before, but I'm like, it's kind of like the whole thing is like, I played flag football, but I've never been in the Super Bowl kind of thing. And so I think to me, this is the closest I've ever been to like going to the Olympics, going to the Super Bowl. I mean, these are people that put their whole heart. I mean, you were literally saying before we did this episode, you were coaching. Like you're Lorcana. If you're not working or sleeping, there's a good chance you're playing Lorcana and maybe eating.
You're Lorcana
Even when I'm working and sleeping, I'm still Lorcana-ing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, and I was inspired because I think it's so cool that people were so willing to bring daring decks like that because, we always say like, oh, the meta's so predictable. And I'm like, is it? Because I think it's very cool watching people tech around the meta, and that the meta at Continentals is very different than what you're going to see at, not very, but still the lessons learned from Continentals, if you brought that to set champs, you'd have a very different day because it's a completely different world and different players. So So yeah, it's sad that your story ends, but it doesn't end there because you're talking to us and you still get to share the story. You didn't.
I think
that was-
I think it's good though to like hold like things in tension, right? Like you can be
Yes.
like really, really proud of what you accomplished and getting to top 16 and all of that. And like, you know, like we all know you're an amazing player and like you can hold the good and also be like
Stop it.
really
Don't say that.
sad
Yeah.
that you lost, like really sad that you were one game away from the world's invite, you know, and watching that game.
Yeah.
And it's okay to hold both of those things, you know, to
Yeah.
be like really proud of the player that you are and how much you accomplished and also sad, you know. And
lot.
it's hard, you know, holding things like that in tension is hard for a human soul, but you know, that's life. that is life. But yeah, no, I think that also you shared like all about disappointment, you know,
Yes.
afterwards, in being vulnerable, and I think that that's a great discussion that should always be had, you know, because
Yeah.
it's easy to share the highs and the wins, but sharing about the heartbreaks and the losses and being vulnerable is difficult, but we're not alone. And it's a good reminder to other people that they're not alone, that if somebody at your level who's, you know, experiencing that kind of heartbreak, you know, then, you know, someone like me or whoever, or like my son, you know, faces a heartbreaking loss, that he can look at these high profile players and say, I'm not alone. This is something that we all experience and we're going to experience at some point in this game. And we keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's crazy because, I mean, the highs were so high that weekend.
Yeah.
But man, the lows, I mean, I was like, I told somebody, I was like, you know, in the Super Bowl, when like one team wins and they have the confetti and it's the confetti of the team that won, and they pan to like the guys sitting on the bench and they're really sad and the confetti's falling on them. Like that was happening several times. Like it was just, it's like moments of just like the season's over for this team. And like, it was like, it's exciting because obviously you want to look at the people going, yeah, but you like look over there like, oh no. And so I think it was a room of highs and lows. So, but yeah, I appreciate you telling that story, and I also appreciate you sharing that, because yeah, it'd be so easy to be like, I don't know, it's whatever next year. But I mean, yeah, obviously that's, for lack of a better term, that sucks. It sucks.
And like I know I said it on Vox Lorcana last week, earlier this week.
Yeah, last
I s-
week.
I,
Last week.
I know, right? Time is weird. I'm
This
like,
I don't. Time's not real
well,
anymore.
it was last.
I think it was.
Thursday,
I think it was
right?
last.
Yeah.
Yes,
I think it was
last
last week.
Wednesday.
I said it on Vox Lorcana too. Like I'm typically like a very like private person, especially when it comes to my feelings. Like I don't express my emotions very, very well. And I've been in other communities before, and like I've felt these exact same feelings in those communities, but never once in a million years did I ever like go on the internet and make a video like trying to encourage other people that are like could also be going through the same thing that I am. And I think that
Yeah.
speaks volumes to the Disney Lorcana community as a whole, that even someone who's as reserved with like their emotional intelligence as I am, that like I'm willing to speak out, like just speaks so many volumes to how amazing this community is.
It's the best.
I couldn't have done that. I couldn't have done that in Magic.
Yeah,
I would have
Yu-Gi-Oh?
got
Are you
laughed.
kidding?
I would have got laughed off the internet. They would have been like, "Ha, nerd, shut up. You suck."
Yeah. Get good. I'm like, I am
Yeah,
good.
exactly,
Good,
like-
good.
Like the comment section literally would have been like, have you tried playing better?
Yeah.
Just
that's-
win next time.
Yeah, have you
Yep.
tried winning more? Like,
Yeah. No.
no, I
and-
never thought of it.
I think that's good. That, I mean, yeah, being vulnerable. I think that's why people like the players they like, is that, yeah, people say that was bad, and people go, yeah, it was bad, and then we can all like agree and be like, and I think that's why, kind of going into the next segment, when we talk about things that, you know, aren't great about, or things that could maybe be better, I think it's good that we're a community that's allowed to talk about it without just saying like, sucks, because, you know, we offer feedback and then also say, and this is what would be better. Before we kind of talk about what we're hoping to see, I want to kind of touch one more thing. Was there anything that surprised? I mean, you know, kind of talk about there's, you know, surprises about rules, but was there anything that kind of surprised you about the weekend that was just, you're like sticks out to you, that good or
Yep.
bad? Okay.
Yeah,
Yes,
that
well,
event hall was absolutely freezing.
that is surprising. It was.
Like
that
I
was a
didn't,
surprise.
I didn't sweat all weekend. So like normally like I sweat an egregious amount at these events because like my heart rate's high, like and it's
Yeah.
like kind of like stuffy in the room. There's a lot of bodies, but like I was, and like I run hot. I'm
Yeah.
like, if you touch my hands, like I'm a very warm person. I was freezing in that building.
Well, that was
It's chilly.
right. It was cold, and there were some corners where you could tell that that's where the cold came from. They're like, actually, Elsa's Palace is here. Now you're in it. That's why maybe they made that card. They're like, you didn't know that, but that's actually the theme of today's event.
That was, yeah.
Yeah,
I think the thing that was surprising for me was just like how being in that venue, as cold as it was so beautiful. And I was like,
So beautiful.
this is what a Disney Lorcana event should feel like, right?
And look
just
like,
like
yeah.
the vibes, just the atmosphere of being in a space like that. Obviously, not every Disney Lorcana challenge can be at the Disneyland Hotel, but I think there's something to be said, especially for a Disney game, that of like the setting that you're in and how much being in that space made a difference to just like elevating the event and making it feel like a Disney experience, you know? So that made a big difference to me.
we kind of got the Illuminary. It's not the one that's in Europe because
Right.
it is bigger, but we kind of got
We
the
did.
Illuminary,
We
which
got
was
the
very
book.
exciting.
Yeah.
We had the
Guys,
lore
look.
book, yeah.
Yeah,
The
we
lore
got
book.
kind of the Illuminary over here. I'm very excited. So that was very fun. But yeah, the vibes in the
Yeah.
venue are very, very cool.
Mhm.
Mine was, just seeing the players, how much they put in and how, like, hearing them talk about, well, I put this card and I was thinking about this and then this rule. Like, I think that I understand how to play competitively, but I'm like, have a lot to learn. And it's cool because, I mean, the good news is people like Labyrinth and a lot of people will do coaching and videos and they talk. And I mean, Matt, that's the thing is we were like intimidated by players. We're like, they're really good. They're also like the nicest humans in the world. And that's the
Very
craziest thing. It's
generous.
like the best players are
Yes.
also ridiculously nice. Like, my goodness.
I'm so bald. Like,
The best players are also bald sometimes. If you're
That's
listening to
true.
the
bald, like-
podcast,
So
wait, how can you be
33% of the
how
people
can
on
you
this
be mean
podcast
if you're
are bald.
Yeah.
Well, I think about Lex Luthor. He's pretty mean, and he's bald. So that's the only one I can think of. Mr. Clean, he's great, but yeah. So I mean, we're moving in. I mean, there are lots of things of people saying, "Oh man, this was not what I wanted." I mean, the biggest thing, the elephant in the room, we don't know when Worlds is.
Yeah.
So that's hard. It's hard because there is a reality. I was thinking about this today. Worlds they could do it like every 2 years and do another season and say like, oh, like maybe Worlds is like not annual. Because they said it was in Disney World, but did they say it was 2025? I realized, I don't know if
They
ever
did.
confirmed that.
They
Okay,
did.
that's
They
good.
did say 2025. Yeah,
Okay,
that was
good.
at
'Cause I was like,
D23.
wait a minute. What if they're like, we'll just go
Mhm.
around the block one more time? And I was like,
Oh,
wait, they couldn't do
gosh.
that. But to speak on that, I mean, there's not a lot of information other than we know it's in Disney World, and now I can confirm 2025. But other than that,
2025.
if you are a Disney Lorcana player or fan, you got to go to Australia, which some people are.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Like, there's some people that are like, okay, I'll go to Australia. You are teammates with
I was
some.
going to.
You
Yeah.
were. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
you
was
tried, and then
going-
the universe said, actually, no.
No, I said no. I had a ticket.
Oh, I thought like they sold out. Okay.
No,
No, you got off the wait list and you got a ticket. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
and
I
now
got
you're
off the
not-
wait
oh,
list. I got a ticket, and like, it was never like a question of money. Like, I wouldn't have like booked it if I couldn't afford it. Like that was never the issue. But like, I felt like a hypocrite because I put out a video saying that one of the things you should do when dealing with disappointment is not just jump into the next thing. And that's what I was doing. I saw it as another opportunity to achieve my goal, but it's an unrealistic, like, you have to
A lot of
understand, like,
pressure, too.
1,024 players, and only the first and second place are getting an invite to Worlds.
Yeah.
It's
And
top
it's as
tier.
far
Only
as you can get away
first-
from
first-
America, too.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing too. Like, so like, yeah, like I probably would have been like all in around like $2,500. Like maybe like depend. I don't know how much food is in Australia. I've never been to Australia.
We
But,
don't
like-
know. We don't know what they eat there. It's Vegemite, possibly something else.
right,
We
like-
don't know.
Could have been like $2,500. Like in the hole. I only have currently 8 hours of PTO. So I would have had to have gone negative 24 hours of PTO to like also go on this trip, and then like 24 hours of flying.
Yeah.
Like, I would have had to have left Wednesday morning, and I wouldn't arrive there until Friday morning because like you lose a day. And then like you talk about the jet lag, like I probably wouldn't even end up playing my best by the time I even got there after 24 hours of travel and like I get there and it's like, okay, like I'm ready for bed, but it's 10 a.m. I don't understand like what I'm doing. And then like I have to get exactly first or second place. Like it's not
It's
realistic.
threading the needle and not
Yeah,
in one
Yeah.
way.
it's not realistic. Like there were too many negative factors, and
Yeah.
like I said, I felt like I was being hypocritical because I'm telling people like take time to like grieve your disappointment and like don't just jump into the next thing, and I was not taking my own advice. So I decided to refund my ticket.
Well, and I mean, you bring up a good point though that if you are somebody who wants to play more Lorcana, it was go to Australia and then there's. So I mean, we're at the point
Or
now.
dot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the kind
Yeah.
of elephant in the room where we're all kind of like, that was so fun. Even if it was bad, you're still like, I want to do it again. And so,
Yeah.
and now we're kind of at this point where it's like, oh, when can I play
We don't know what
Lorcana
the next
again?
Yeah.
we don't know what the next
Yeah.
OP event is, and like it
Right,
also
and
like, begs the
that's- yeah.
question, like even if we don't know when Worlds is going to be, even if we want the Asian markets to feed into Worlds as well as Australia, so are we saying that like season 2 can't start until Worlds happens?
Yeah, and nobody knows. I mean, that's the thing is people can speculate, and we do.
I mean-
because we have nothing else to talk about. But
Yeah, logically it follows. I think logically it makes sense that you have worlds and that concludes your season, and before you start into the next round of DLCs. That
See-
logically makes sense, but we don't know. But I would not be surprised if that was the case. And so that just means the longer that we are delayed in getting announcement about Worlds, that means the further out that other Disney Arcana
Season
Challenge
2.
events are. And the thing about that, I saw somebody make a comment about how, well, that doesn't affect most people because not all of us are traveling to these events. And it's like, well, there's it is a small percentage of players, true, that go to these events. But it's not just the people there that it's for. So many people tune in to the live coverage of what's going on, following players on social media and everything. And it's a whole community experience, whether you're there in person or not. And it's something that pumps life into the game. And so it's not just about the 1,000 or 2,000 people that get tickets to attend each of these events. It affects the entire community. And to know that we're not getting any of these events for at least a few months, if not longer,
Or not know.
is
We
or
don't
not
know,
know.
we
Right.
don't do know.
We just
like,
don't know. Right. I mean, we know that it's not in March.
well, we know it's probably not in March. We know we can't confirm it's in March.
Right. And so it makes me, one, really sad because I want to see the Lorcana community come back together again and hopefully be a part of that. But also I think it's just, it's concerning about, just the vibrancy of the game, that it's kind of will fall flat without that. But
You said something I loved where you said like the professional players are like, I can't remember. You're like, it's like the driving force or something that basically like,
oh,
it's-
yeah,
it was
I
really
said
good,
that.
and I've trying to find it.
Oh yeah. Okay. So I said, that that the player, or I said the content creators are like the face, of a TCG. We're bringing people in. Your judges and event staff are like, like the bodies of like, here's the culture that we're setting in your experience. And then you have your like casual players, social players that are like, the lifeblood, I guess, of the game. But then like the beating heart is the competitive players, right?
Yeah.
That's
They
the
inspire
beating.
us.
That's the
Yeah.
beating heart of the game. And I think that you do have a smaller percentage overall that are like the highly competitive players, right? Of people who are in any TCG. But it's like that competitive play is so important to the life of a game. And so having these events is really, really important.
It is. And it's something, yeah. What do you look forward to? And right now we're like, I'm looking forward to, I don't know, please tell me something. So now I know I told Ryan. I was
We're
like,
looking
gonna be
forward to
done.
set 9. Fabled.
Yeah. Set 9 announced today. We're like, we don't have for set 9.
spoiled cards for set 7.
7. We
What?
have Moana.
We have Moana. Moana's here like, hey, how you doing? I'm the
When
meta.
Yeah.
when does set 7 release? When does Arcasia's Island release?
March
First week of
7th.
March? Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So-
March 7th, hobby store. 6 weeks,
It's
I
like
think.
a month and a couple of weeks. Like I should already
Yeah.
be deck designing I should be like filling my Dreamborn with like spicy new brews with set
We got
7
Moana.
goodies.
She's
Right.
the
And
Blurple meta
to be
buster.
fair, somebody did bring up on Twitter, like, having a condensed reveal season, maybe they want to do that instead of spreading it out. I'm like, that's fine. You've set precedent though with the community of like the cadence of like how things are going to
Need
be
my
revealed.
spoilers, man.
No, it's true,
And-
right? I do. I'm like, I
right.
need, because yeah,
But
you
if you're
expect
going
it.
to change it, just like let people know at least, but there's been nothing that's
Yeah, or say like starting March 1st, we're gonna do or something where it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you can build it up and it's an ad in itself. It's an announcement
Yeah.
and an ad.
Yeah, announcements of announcements. We love that.
We take that. We love that. I mean, gosh, the amount of people I made a joke of people like being like, well, I'm gonna make a video looking at this object for 30 minutes, and people made videos of looking at the new photo that came out today, being like, well, Lucy might be here.
No.
Now, I do want to, I know I told Ryan, I'm like, this is going to be done so fast, but then we just got chatty, so I feel really bad. But I do
Oh,
want
don't
to
feel
kind of
bad.
wrap the episode on kind of like what you're hoping next year. And I think like a lot of it probably is going to be obvious based on what we just talked about for the past hour. But I'll start with you, Ryan, kind of like as you're moving into the next year of Disney Lorcana, hopefully competitively, but I mean, yeah, next year, whatever the season will be, what are you hoping to see? And it can be from the game, from the competitive circuit, whatever it is that you're hoping to see.
I'm hoping to see changes to the DLC structure. One of two things can happen. Either A, you keep 2-game format and you increase the number of rounds. You can still do 9 rounds on day 1, but I think like day 2, you're going to need like some number of rounds before the cut. Because like 9 rounds cut to top 64 is just the most unforgiving format imaginable. Or just change it to best of 3. Like I'm in favor of best of 3 just because like I like the game. I want to play more games. Like let me play more games. But like I understand time constraints. I would like to see inkable Sapphire Steel cards.
Yeah, it's a rough deck.
I would like to see a Sapphire board wipe that can't be played in Ruby Sapphire. So like maybe like a dual card that can only be played in like a specific color pairing, like Blurple or Sapphire Steel. Or I have to say this, and like if he hears it, like he'll know it's because of him. Breen, blue green.
Blue green.
Blue
Oh,
green.
yeah.
There's a community
Breen.
member.
Okay.
He refers
I like
to blue green as Breen, and he knows that word makes me really uncomfortable. He's a community
It
member.
is
really.
weird. Yeah, but I mean, Blurple was uncomfortable, and now we accept it. We've all accepted it as a community and moved on. So,
I would like to see a official judge program. I think
Yes,
that's
the
like
biggest.
I think at this point, like at this point, like
Yes.
it's imperative that we have an official judge program.
Yeah.
I would like to see more seats if possible. I think even at 2048, like it's still not enough. There's so many people that are fighting, knocking at the door, trying to get tickets to these events, both social players and competitive players alike. I mean, if you can put butts in seats, like the sky's the limit. I would also like to see a digital client. Like a digital for me personally, the most fun that I've had playing the game has come from being able to like develop a community and be able to stream. So like an official Disney client would I'd quit my job and just do it full time. Like I'm not even
because
kidding.
it's
like
fun and people like
it's
watching
so much
it. That's the
fun.
other thing. It's
Exactly,
like, people like to watch people play games, and people like to play games. So it's like it's perfect. Everyone wins. So I think that's something where I don't think anyone would be like, no, I don't want to play it on my computer. Because anybody that's at a webcam game, it's not fun. It's not fun to set up your computer and like your little camera, and it's more fun if it's in the computer. I mean, my thing with the DLC is I wish they would announce the entire season up front. Be like, this is when it starts. This is the season end. This is the day it ends. And so it's not just kind of now where, I mean, we were kind of like, are they going to add more dates? And I think it's because, I mean, we've all worked in companies. They were building the plane while flying a little bit this season. So, I mean, I don't be like, you didn't have it planned out. But I think that'd be nice for the community to be like, hey, season starts, season ends. And there's none of this weird mystery. So go on.
You just brought it. You just brought it back. And Rebekah's gonna be real mad that I'm saying this, but communication. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see for season 2 of the DLCs is more communication, better communication. Like that's that's a lot. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
I think we all want that.
Yeah.
well, Rebekah, that's a great segue because I'm sure you would agree that,
Yeah.
communication is
Yeah.
always a good thing.
Communication is great. Over communicate. I'm always on the side of over communicating. And even if you don't have something to communicate, to like figure out something that you can say to communicate, even when that you can't communicate anything. I don't know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
to say
having a whole
nothing.
season set would be great if we could get that. Here's the lineup of DLCs, when they are, dates, championships, worlds, all of that. That feels like a dream that we would get that. And I do think having either both, or you know, more seats and or more events, like in more places, right? Like there's such a high demand, and I understand that puts strain on them as an organization working with their tournament organizer and vendors to make it happen. It's a lot of work to put on these events. I get that. But obviously the demand is there. Like you're saying, what was it, 34 seconds the LCQs sold out? Other events sold out in less than 5 seconds. Like Vegas went like literally so fast.
Yeah. Texas was the only
and
one where everyone's like, I don't want to go. So that one was there for like a half a day. I was like, oh, okay. I guess.
But yeah, they really, I hope that they're thinking internally and working on how can we expand these events. The demand is huge. I think also specifically expanding the events to have more besides just the main competition, right? Which we saw them do as time went on. I thought they did a great job actually of improving each event as we went through the season, having the artists, the illustrators there for signings, the pack rush, the meet and greets and all that. But like there's, the Lorcana quest that they announced at D23. What is that? Like expand, like have these all be big celebrations, have panels or whatever, with people, game designers. Like there's so many cool
Yes.
things that you could do. Have, your
Make it an actual
cosplay
convention.
contest. Exactly.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I,
Like
yeah.
make it like a big Disney fun
Yes.
fiesta.
Yeah, there should have been
Yes.
something at the end. I wish there was some kind of like after the award ceremony. They're like,
I
and now
know.
it's the I don't know,
Something.
the
Yeah.
gala. It doesn't have to be a
And-
gala, but something.
And maybe not every single event can be that, but hopefully at least like at the next championships they do, or something. I think there's just so much potential there and untapped things in, I posted this on Twitter the other day about how this game exists within the context, right, of Disney fandom. I've said this a couple times. And it's like there's so much there, so much potential
Oh, yeah.
to what events could be. So I'm hoping for more of that. I also agree with you about the judge program. We need an official judge program. We
And
really do.
transparency
Time.
would be cool.
It's
I love.
time.
I think it's.
Yeah.
Ryan, what do you think about like with Magic? They do like a report. Like in this tournament, a person was disqualified in round 4. This was the circumstances. This was the rule. Is that too much, or do you think there's like how much transparency do you think is the right amount? I mean, that might be a whole hour episode, but
Like I have an opinion on this, but like at the end of the day, like they've already spoken their piece. They're not going to make it public. I think it should be public. Like I'm going to make this super quick and just like give you like a scenario. Like someone's caught cheating in a DLC, and like they're caught by the judge ends up DQing them. Nobody says anything. That person goes back to their local community. Set Champs comes around. They continue to cheat in their local community, and they cheat players out of prizing for Set Champs, and it's not fair. Like I think like I'm gonna recognize someone that's cheating. Like I know how to spot it. I've dealt with it. I've been playing TCGs for over 20 something years. But like the average player is not going to be able to tell that somebody is cheating them. And I think that putting it in the public's eye, like, hey, this person has been caught cheating, like now the community can keep an eye out for that individual. Stores can decide, like, hey, you have the right to refuse service to anyone. Like, stores can make a decision whether or not they want to allow an individual to participate in their events.
Right.
Yeah, and I think people are naturally like, well, that's not very Disney. But at the end of the day, I mean,
It's not,
you
but
could absolutely
cheating's
cheat
not
against
Disney
me.
either.
Disney to cheat.
Yeah,
exactly.
You could
like,
absolutely do it because I would just go, this is a Disney game. No one would ever cheat here. And I'm just whistling and I'm so happy. I get my little Mickey ears. And meanwhile, you're like, no, people do cheat. And so the reality is that there's prizes that are worth anywhere from $30 to $15,000. So,
No, they're
or
worth $10.
20,000.
You have to sign a waiver.
That's true. So
It's
Yeah,
just
the Mickey was
cardboard.
worth $10.
yeah, right. So the paper's worth nothing, but the mystique of it is worth some money. So yeah, people want to believe. I want to believe. No one would ever cheat. Do whatever you need to do on your turn. You would never draw another card. The reality is they do. And if we don't have a way to help protect people like me and kids, like help protect me and the children,
Yeah.
how are we gonna make it better? And how are we gonna? We shouldn't have to be that. Yeah, there should be some kind of way to protect players.
Yeah.
The good news is now I think we're all excited to see. I mean, gosh, today we all saw news and we're like, I can't wait, but still more, please. So
More.
I think it's the good news. If anybody officially listening to this, obviously the answer is we want more. It's not. I
so
don't
much
think I've heard
more.
a single person be like, I'm over it. I'm done. I mean, maybe I don't know, but people who like the game are excited and giving feedback of like, this is what I want because they only want it to go up from here, and I think it will. It's
Yeah.
just-
And I think that when you look back at the last year or year plus, or last year of the DLCs, even if you just look at since the first DLC in last May, there's so much momentum that has built up, right? Like the game is growing. There's so much excitement. There's been so much momentum. And it feels right now like that momentum has just gone.
And where does it
Right.
go? Does it dissipate? Does it go somewhere else?
Right. And I think that that's some of the frustration that the community is feeling. Like we all want to be excited. You had us going along with you. We were, we're there. And now we don't know where we are.
Yeah. As
They
a
know.
competitive TCG player, I'm not going to wait 7-8 months to play in another
You
competitive event. Like
Yeah.
if
and you
I
can't,
if
because I
I
mean you
can't.
like to compete. I mean, at
Right,
the end of
like-
the day, if you like to compete, what are you supposed to do? Be like, well, I can't because I have to wait patiently. Like, I mean,
like
that's-
Impact's trying to get me to come to One Piece.
Well,
I don't know
how?
anything
That's-
about that game, but like he's like, man, there's
not-
there's a tournament
real.
every 15 minutes. I'm like, well, like that's kind of cool, but like I would rather
Yeah.
play Disney Lorcana.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's. I mean,
Give
it
me-
sucks
give
to
me
talk
some
about, but
events
it's
to
the
go to.
reality. Yeah.
And I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. Obviously, we don't know when Worlds is going to be or the next DLC season will start. It will be interesting to see how many local communities start, and game stores start putting on their own events. And if we
Yeah.
Southside.
see like Southside Gaming,
I'll be
obviously
at the
Charlie's
10K.
Collectibles. So
Yeah.
like it'll be interesting to see if there's more of that comes up in the interim, and if that will be enough, to keep players interested in playing. I don't know.
I think more stores should do it because like
Yeah.
a lot of these big events seem like they're like localized in like the southeast, and I don't think that's fair for like some of the other areas. And well, like I guess Texas too, because like they do like the Hunter Burton Memorial events and stuff like that. And I'm sure that like California also does a bunch of events too. But like even if we need to supplement OP play with unofficial, like I'm calling on store owners across the nation to get together with your local communities,
Yeah.
get together with other stores. If we have to supplement, come up with something outside of the box, fun, creative, unique, that's going to keep giving players a reason to play the game and come into your stores.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's, as we've seen, I mean, Disney people like to travel and spend money. I've learned that by being myself. So, we'll do it. I spend money. It's not hard. Like, I've already, like, I'm going
It's
to World. I
not
don't know what it is,
hard.
but I'll go. You already got me by saying it. You just tell me when, please.
It's in my backyard. Even if I don't get
I
an
know,
attendee
right?
ticket, I'm showing up and I'm just going to sit outside. Like, you can't tell me I
Yeah.
can't. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll just make
So-
players come outside and be like, oh, tell me everything. What does it look like?
Tell
in there?
me
How
what's
did you
going
do it?
on.
What does it smell like?
Take pictures.
You have a
These
drone.
smell like.
Slide in there.
Exactly. Like, I want to know what's the room temperature? Which
Is it
way is the
cold?
wind? Like
Is
I
it
need to know the
chilly?
things. Exactly.
Well, thank you so much. This has been wonderful. I love talking about, all this game because we love this game, and it's wonderful. And before we say goodbye, though, Rebekah, where can people find and follow all the wonderful things you have to say in the world?
I am RebakahQuests everywhere with a KAH on Rebekah, not a CCA.
No, that's not right. It's not right at all.
That's not right. I'm mostly over on Instagram though, so that's where I have the most fun. Come find me there. Hey, we even have RM Bald himself has made it over onto Instagram.
That's
I
crazy.
did. I still don't really like know what I'm doing or like know how to do it, but like I'm gonna get better. Like, and I'm gonna be posting more content, like more content there. Like I'm gonna be focusing primarily like still on Twitter, on Instagram, and also on YouTube. Like you can like my name's different everywhere too because
That's fun. It's a challenge.
it's
If
such
you
a
find
challenge.
one, you can find the string back.
Yeah. It's
usually.
like hard because like my username is just taken on every single platform, which I'm like,
Yeah.
who are you? Who are you? So yeah, Twitter's R_M_bald.
Perfect.
That's Instagram. Twitter's
Instagram.
like I don't know what Twitter is.
Well, we'll
Like,
link it in the
RMB.
so.
yeah,
we'll link
there's
it in the
places,
bio.
things.
Yeah, I'll link it. But if if people want to get coaching from you, where would they find that kind of thing?
Yeah, so I've been doing a lot of coaching, obviously, because we're in set champs right now. So
yeah,
like,
people are like, please help
everyone's-
me. I need it.
yeah, exactly. Like I've got people like, give me the blue steel south, teach me how to blurps. I'm like,
Teach me how to blurps.
Yeah,
Teach me the
you know.
blurple blade.
yeah, I'm actually writing a parody song to teach me how to Dougie. It's teach me how to blurps.
Perfect. And that's, this is what happens when you don't give us DLCs. He's starting to write music, guys. So please, we need more.
please give me a DLC before I go off
This
the deep
is-
end.
We don't know he's gonna make a cookbook. We won't know what to do with that.
Yeah, I do offer coaching. You guys can find me at Discord. We do like primarily all of our coaching through our Discord server, Labyrinth. You can find it from my link tree on my Twitter. It's there. Or you can like message me, or you can like call me. You can call me anything. Just don't call me late for dinner. I'll also be launching a Metafy soon, so like that'll be another outlet for individuals. Like I'm probably gonna put together some guides. People have been like, give me a blurple guide, give me a blue steel guide. Like I don't know, I just don't know like what if like the community wants to like hear me talk or write or
They
things
do.
like.
They
I
do.
would say.
Yeah.
People are hungry for absorbing people's skills. So if you're wondering, yeah, they do. And I
can-
will say, if you haven't watched Lab Rats,
Lab Rats
you
is-
and Humble will play against each other, and it is wonderful and delightful. And I feel like I'm hanging out with you guys, but I'm not. I'm just absorbing the good vibes.
You could
That's on
be
the
a
Lab
special
Rats
guest
YouTube.
on an episode of Lab Rats.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna be in Florida next week, so I'm excited. I know. What is
That's right, Disney
exciting.
World.
I am. What is it? Yeah, yeah. So very excited about that. But
Call
in the
Breezy.
meantime,
Breezy lives like
I
right
know.
by
I
there.
told him. Yeah, it's funny because I'm gonna be there, and I mean you're there. I mean we could basically have worlds. Let's just have worlds early. It'll be fine. All you need is 5 people. You got a worlds going, baby.
Oh, there you go.
So well, thank you both. It's been wonderful. For everyone listening, make sure to like and subscribe wherever you're listening. Just do that. Go click the buttons. It makes me feel good. In the meantime, is there anything you want me to talk about? You can make sure to email me at contact@thelorekeepersin.com. And you can also reach me on the socials link in the description. We're always happy to have you stop by the inn, no matter where your journey may take you. And if you don't know where to find us, just take the second start of the right exit and head straight on till morning.